503 here on KHTS, one of my favorite guests in studio. He's a regular here on the afternoon drive. Definitely the most candid guest we have here. He's part Oprah, he's part public defender, he's part Robin Hood. He's Richard Szerman of Alta Realty. What's happening, Richard?
Can I take you everywhere I go? That was the greatest intro ever. Thank you very much.
Of course.
I don't know that I can live up to that, but I'll do my best. Thank
Are you staying out of trouble these days? You have a
No, I'm not staying out of trouble.
You have a penchant of getting into trouble.
I seek it out. It just kind of happens. But these they sort of find me. I'll give you my favorite example of the current trouble we're in.
Let's go.
This is why I was getting.
Yeah, let's do
it. So I've got a client, and it's a rough story. She and her father lived in a house together. Her father was elderly. Dad passed away. She got the house. She's a great candidate for loan modification. She'd be very straightforward. Her interest rate's like 7.5%, so we can knock that down and do all sorts of great stuff. But the only problem we're having with it is Bank of America is insisting on speaking to her father, which is going to be interesting because, as I said, he is no longer with us.
Oh, wow.
So perhaps they have a Ouija board that works that I don't. I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking.
Do they have a spiritual healer on staff?
Perhaps. I don't know. Maybe it's a crystals thing. I don't know. But what I do know is she's dangerously close to losing the house. And when we talk to Bank of America, they keep coming back with, we need to talk to him because he's on the loan and she's not. And this is just a good, it's funny because of the ridiculousness of it, but this is a good lesson for your listeners. Just because the bank says something doesn't make it so. The banks lie to people all the time. I'm hopefully no one that's listening is shocked by that. I'm sure they're aware. Sometimes it's an intentional lie because it makes the bank money. But sometimes it's just they don't know any better and they just want to get you off the phone. Like insisting to talk to somebody who they have a copy of his death certificate for. There's no debate as to whether he is still with us. They are aware of this. But yet we can't do anything with this file unless we talk to him, unless we get his authorization.
So obviously that's not going to happen. Is that because he didn't have a will that spelled out that?
No, had a will, title transferred to her, no question. The house is hers. No probate. She was on title before he passed away. So the house goes to her. So there's really no question. The only person who has trouble with the title of the property is Bank of America. Now here's the scenario. As a matter of law, they have to talk to her. She owns the house, so they don't have a choice. But she's about a month and a half away, maybe 2 months tops, from a foreclosure. And if we have to spend the next 2 months getting them to understand that she has control of this, they will foreclose. Not only that, in the interim, she's got a lot of equity. In the interim, they're going to roll up all sorts of fees and things like that while this goes on, which is the name of the game. They know they're going to lose this fight, but that's the name of the game. So the trick becomes doing things like going on the radio today and other things like that to basically say, look, if this is the course that Bank of America wants to take with this loan, other than a lawsuit after the fact, which will demonstrate your incompetence.
Could that recoup all the fees that they charge her?
Well, I don't know if they'll recoup everything because we really do our best to keep clients out of court, because to fight one of these things through court, it takes a lot of time and a lot of money and a couple of years of your life, and we need to keep her in her house. We need to keep her on track. That's better for her and better for the bank, frankly. So what we typically wind up doing is having to escalate these files inside of the bank to somebody who actually understands, and I say, look, these are your options, okay? Messy lawsuit, which you will lose because we've documented here, and here. And of course, they'll never admit to that. Or how about common sense? How about you just do what you should be doing anyway, which, by the way, is better for the bank financially. Not that that's my chief motivator, but it is better for the bank and it's better for my clients. How about we just do that? And we'll get it to that point and they'll say, fine. But it's just, I get stories all the time from clients. Well, the bank told me this. Why did you listen to that? Just because the bank, and I understand because they're not talking to anybody else. So the point here is, don't listen to somebody who does not have your interest, your agenda, as their own. The bank's agenda is the bank's agenda. Your agenda is your agenda. And if the two of them are working in concert, great. But that is extremely rare. Their job is to get as much money as they possibly can out of you by hook or by crook, and they do a lot of dishonest stuff. They just do. Your job is to try to give them as little money as possible. And there is conflict in those two areas. That's where they come together. So we sort of fit in that seam to try to fit these things out, fix these out for people. And we'll get this one sorted. This is not the first time we've heard this. It's not the first time we've been through this.
Are cases like these constantly piling up on your desk?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I volunteer for this stuff, so the crazier it is, and we do it for free, of course, so the crazier it is, the nuttier it is, the more likely it is to wind up on my desk. It just is.
It sounds like to volunteer for cases like this, it'd be another 40-hour-a-week job.
It is. That's what it is.
Are you getting any sleep these days?
Not much, but I don't need it. It's okay. I've had insomnia since I was very young, so I kind of make it work for me. So it's okay. I'm a bit much for my family, but otherwise I'm okay. I get a little cranky sometimes.
Do you drink coffee? Because you're pretty revved up right now.
No, I don't. This is me at the end of the day. You should have seen me this morning. No, I don't. That's a habit I never picked up. Actually, for a while, I had a client who needed me to drop by his house every day, every morning. I won't bore you with
Maybe
why,
you should
but
take sedatives. I don't know.
Yeah, no, he had me drinking coffee every morning with him, and that went on for about 6 months. And my staff would just lock me in my office and not talk to me for the first couple of hours because I was just impossible to deal with. So
Uh-huh.
I was literally sending text messages from inside my office because I was just too much to deal with. So no, that's advice I've got many others, but not that one. But my point again to the listeners is just because you hear it from a bank does not make it so. Banks misquote the law all the time. Banks don't know the law often. If you're talking to somebody in asset loss, they don't know the law on the subject. And you're often talking to somebody in a different state. They certainly don't know the laws in California. The other funny one I had, I'll give you another funny story.
Can I take a quick look at
Please,
traffic?
please.
Then we'll get right back to
Okay,
Richard
fine.
Sherman.
Go!
I got bosses, Richard. I got to hit traffic on the
Fair,
8s.
fair.
I got bosses.
No, me too.
Otherwise. All right, it is 5:08. Let's take a look at traffic every 10 on the 8s, all the way till 7. We are, of course, sitting here with Richard Sherman of Alta Realty. We'll get back to him in just a second, but first, I want to let you know, southbound side of the 5, Pyramid Lake Road off-ramp, have a traffic hazard, a wooden box taking out the number 2 and 3 lanes. Must be a pretty big box taking out 2 lanes. That is the only incident on the freeways. Service Street's different story. Have a multi-car collision right at the intersection of Lyons Avenue and Railroad. That is clogging traffic up on the southbound side of Lyons down to just 1 lane. And, of course, adding to some looky-loo delays on the northbound side of Lyons as well. No other incidents around town. Northbound 14, bumper to bumper, coming away from the 5 up through Lyons Avenue. And that is going to do it. That is traffic here on KHTS.
98.1 FM and AM 1220.
We are, of course, sitting here with Richard Sherman, Alta Realty, one of my favorite guests. He is one of the most honest guests, probably the most honest guest. He brings a lot of his troubles to the airwaves, which I always appreciate. So we're talking about these cases where the bank is just taking advantage of homeowners.
It's better than going to a bar and talking to a bartender. So I come in here and talk to you. It's more fun.
There's no alcohol here, though,
unfortunately.
unfortunately.
For me, that's probably better. So that's I'm a very light drinker. I'm a very lightweight, so you don't. Yeah,
I'm so lightweight too, Richard. It's incredible.
My wife likes to joke. If I have 1 glass of wine, I'm a lot of fun. If I have 2 glasses of wine, I'm a whole lot of fun. If I have 3 glasses of wine, I'm dancing on the table and at form underneath it. So that's kind of. And she can drink, so we don't do. My wife drinks, does the drinking. Anyway,
slippery slope.
Yeah, it absolutely is. But she's a fun drinker. I smile a lot and pass out. But anyway, so here's another fun one with the bank. Bank told a client, and again, this is just this morning.
I feel like there should be a punchline at the end of these stories, and there's not.
Yeah, it's just because it's true. That's the sad part. That's the punchline. Bank actually said this is a good-sized bank. They're out of Texas. Bank actually, we quoted a lot of them, sent a copy of them. It has to do with the Homeowner Bill of Rights, which says that if you were pursuing loss mitigation efforts, if you're attempting a loan modification especially, short sale or anything else, that they are prohibited from advancing the foreclosure process. That's the term that's used. So it stalls the foreclosure. You can't foreclose while you're in the homeowner bill. They have a complete file. She said, well, that's interesting, but we don't have that here. I said, I'm sorry, what? You don't have the law in the state of California in your bank? I don't understand that. Well, yeah, when I talked to a supervisor, we don't have that here. Okay, the law in Texas may be different, and that's fine, and you guys may be based in Texas, and that's all well and good, but the house is in California, and I'm very sure the laws of California apply. So you might want to talk to your legal department. And she put me on hold, which is never a good sign, because you're not talking to the legal department when I'm on hold.
No.
She came back 10 minutes later. Yeah, I talked to our attorneys, and they said we don't have that here. Okay, no, you didn't. No attorney told you that, and if they did, you need to find yourself some new attorneys, because that's ridiculous. And to make it very long, that one is, and we'll end that one on Monday, but that's what I mean by the banks don't know what the hell they're talking about. Sorry, heck they're talking about. Sorry, I don't want to get in trouble with that. Heck they're talking about. Because what happens is they just make this stuff up wholesale, and they say it loud enough and long enough, and they expect people to believe them. And maybe that's a symptom of the world we live in, I don't know, but truth is still truth as far as I'm concerned, and when the law says A, that means A. Whether you in Texas or Nome or any place else, it doesn't matter. You could be on the dark side of Mars. That's not the way it works. You are governed by the laws in the state of California. And it's unfortunate if your bank does not know those laws, but the laws still are the laws, and they're not hard. Just Google them, for goodness sake, if you're a consumer. If you work at a bank, you think you would, but that's expecting more than I think you can handle. But again, the point is, you cannot trust these banks to tell you the truth. We get this all the time where somebody will come into the office and say, we can do that, that's great, because the bank told us we couldn't. Okay, but the bank does not have your interest, let alone best interest, does not have your interest in mind at all.
Right.
And occasionally, if you get really lucky and you find somebody in a bank whose head and whose heart is in the right place and they really are trying to help you, there's a very good chance they're going to get promoted and be out of that division anyway, because asset loss doesn't tend to keep the best and the brightest people.
Yeah, or they'll be stonewalled by the higher forces.
Or they'll get fired. Yeah, that's the other thing.
So, Richard, I want to ask you before we wrap up, and by the way, we're talking with Richard Sherman, Alta Realty. If you want to get some more information on Richard and his team, go to Richard Sherman. That is SZERMAN.com. Richard Sherman. KHTS.com. So, Richard, we just had the worst week in the stock market in 12 years. I want to ask you, are we expecting a similar downturn?
What have I been saying?
We are expecting, I shouldn't phrase it as a question then. We are expecting a similar downturn in the housing market?
Yeah. Again, interest rate inversion. All any of your listeners need to do is just Google that term, interest rate inversion. When that happens, it is a bad bellwether. It says within the next 8 to 18 months there will be a recession. It has never produced a false positive since I think 1956 when the modern T-bill system was put together. So, and that happened about 10 months ago. So we're definitely in that zone. And when you combine instability at the top, and like him or hate him, what the current president is providing is a load of instability, with a lack of consumer confidence at the bottom. I mean, if you just drive around Santa Clarita, how many vacant storefronts do you see on your way home? Were they there last year? Were they there the year before? And there are reasons, I'm sure, for each one of these things. I don't want to say that's the only thing that dictates the economy, but if there's prime real estate in this town, commercial real estate especially, in a town like Santa Clarita, which has a pretty good-sized consumer base, and it's not being utilized, there's a reason. You know, there are people who do a lot better economic forecasting than I do, who look at this thing and go, now's not a good time to expand, because they know what I do. We are looking at a sizable market correction sometime in the very near future. I have said it will be somewhere around the end of the second quarter, beginning of the third quarter of this year. Might be a little later, might be a little sooner. And I would also like to reiterate, I would love to be wrong. It would make me I sell houses for a living.
Right.
The more they sell for, the happier people are. Even the clients who are in trouble, the more equity they have, usually the better off they are. But we're headed toward a correction. We just are. Now, when I started saying this in 2006, people had me, I had friends of mine who were trying to get me fitted for a rubber room because they thought I was crazy. And I said things like Countryride's going to go out of business. Countryride can't possibly go out of business. And yet here we are. I'm telling you, it's coming again.
More volunteer work for you.
Well, yeah, it'll keep me busy, that's for sure. More pro bono stuff for sure. But it's coming again. It absolutely is. And I'll say the same thing I've been saying for the last year. If you have a house to sell, do it now. If you don't and you can wait another couple of years, then just hang tight. Just close the shutters, you'll be fine. But if you have issues with your house, if you have problems with your mortgage, if you're in danger of foreclosure, if you can't make your payment, if your interest rate's too high, if you just want to know some stuff about real estate, I answer questions for people all day long, and I'm happy to do so. Please consider me a resource. You can call me anytime. I give it my personal cell phone number on the air. I know I'm told I'm crazy to do that, but I don't mind at all. I like my job a lot, so you can call me anytime, 24 hours a day. My cell phone is 661-714-1400, and that is my personal cell phone. No kidding, that is really my cell phone. 661-714-1400. If I don't answer, you can always text me at that line, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I do sleep on occasion. It's rare, but I do. And I also like to shower and talk to other people on occasion. I yell at banks and things, so I have other things to do. So if I don't answer, just leave me a text, and I will call you back very quickly. But you can reach me at that number anytime, 24 hours a day, and I will figure out. I will solve your problem. Whatever your problem is, we will figure out how to solve it together. 661-714-1400. Call me anytime.
Or go to richardsherman.com. You can learn more about him and his team, the rental rebate program, resale renovation program, and the not-so-alliterative free loan modification services. Again, go to richardsherman.com. That is SZERMAN.com. Or head on over to the offices, Turney Road in Valencia. Again, 661-714-1400 to reach Richard. Richard, thanks, man. Always
for having me in.
illuminating. Of
Thank
course.
you.